let's just get greasy. Let's get it. Let's go.
We're about to file and fit the compression rings. So here are the compression rings. This is how they come in a nice box here in the kit, just like the wrist pins, but these are the compression rings. So I'm gonna take them out and show you what they look like. So there you go. Get this shit done. Bust it out real quick. And this is how they come. And it comes with instructions how to orient the gaps. Also, it comes with the bore size that you're doing and the projected gap that you want to be running per your bore size. So you could go ahead and measure this up if you want to. I've been building Hemis for a long time, so we're going to be running boost on this motor. So for me personally, any boosted application, like a V8 boosted application in this instance, 28 thousandths of an inch. So that's what I'm running, only because we're running boost. I like how they come numbered as well, so you can't mess them up. But if they didn't come numbered, quick way to tell which one's which. The shiny of the compression ring is always going to be the top ring, and then the softest material, also the Napier, that's the one with the little ridge in it. You can see that ridge right there. Only the second compression rings come with ridges in them, and they're called Napiers because they act as oil scrapers. Though all the rings are oil scrapers, these scrape a little bit more. Yeah, so without further ado, let's start getting the cutting and the measuring, and I'm going to show you both methods I use to cut and measure. You want to make sure that the end gap between here on both rings are 28 thousandths of an inch. It's okay if you go 29, in my opinion, or even 30 is fine. As long as you're doing a boost, you will be good with 30 thousandths. If you go any more than that, the ring is junk and you're gonna have to get custom sets. Little dab of oil, nothing too crazy, just so the ring slides nicely into the bore and we can be able to not scratch anything like that. So as they come, they are file fit, meaning they're not filed and they leave a lot of room for us to file. So this one here, it's got a gap in it, surprisingly. Some of them didn't have a gap, but that's okay. Just gonna square it up in the bore, sure it's nice and flush. I did all the rings already, so this is my last one. I just didn't want to bore you guys. So anyway, on the feeler gauge, you can see I got 28 thousandths, 0.28. And 0.71 millimeters. So you want to be able to make sure that the 28,000 slides right through. Let me get a flashlight so you guys can see what I'm seeing. So here's the gap right here. We're gonna try to slide the 28 through, and it doesn't even go. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take it out, and then we're gonna take it to the bench, and then we're gonna cut slowly. So let's do that. So there's two methods that I use when I'm doing these procedures. I use a manual ring filer where I manually turn it and I cut the ring. So I'm going to show you that, but I usually use this one right to kind of like square it up properly and nicely, you know, as precision as I can. And then this is an old school method that the old school engine builders used to use before there were those. So it consists of putting a file into a bench vise and very carefully scraping it down. Now this procedure takes off a lot of material very quickly, so you want to be extra cautious to, you know, pace yourself and not rush into it. Check the gap, close both ends together, and if you can see any light through the ends, that will determine that you have taper in the ring, and if there's no light, that will determine that it's perfectly straight. So I'm going to show you how I do it on both procedures. So we know that we got quite a bit of material to take off of this ring. So we're just gonna go ahead, take it out. It'd be a good idea to clean up a little bit of the oil that might be on there. So I pretty much set aside a towel to kind of clean off the extra metal when I do cut it, and then I use a microfiber to kind of like, you know, give me the extra clean. So let's go. So first you want to do, set it, make sure you have it nice and straight, and just pull it back towards you in one direction. And that's pretty much it. Make sure you're holding it nice and straight. Now I am pacing myself in reference to the gap that I tried to measure. So I'm just cutting and seeing. So now I'm gonna hold it up to the light, and if I can see any type of light coming through the ring, then I know I have taper. So there I can see light coming through, and I can see where I need to get straight. There we go. You can almost hear it cutting on there. Like I said, you want to pace yourself. There we go. And now I have no more taper. There's just two pulls. I'll bring it close to the camera so you can see. Yeah, barely any taper. Next to no taper. Then I'm gonna take it over to the manual ring filer to see if I can square it up better. Square it up a little better. You always want to file in towards you. Then I'll hold it up to the light again just to check for taper. I have just a little bit. Still bearing in mind that I don't want to take off too much material. But like I said, I do this so much, so I kind of have a good reference as where I want to check. So now I back off of the filing, and then with a file, I just kind of deburr the edges here, just so that I don't have any kind of, you know, burred edge to scrape the cylinder wall. So nothing too crazy. Feeling with my finger, making sure there's no edges, no lips. That's pretty much what I'm filing off. There's that. And notice I only cut one side. I don't cut both sides, just one. So took off the little burr there. Now we're gonna be placing it back into the board to check the clearance and see if we can achieve our target gap. Okay, so now we know we cut a little bit off. Let's place it inside the board right after. Give it a little wipe down. Take off any metal shavings that might be stuck onto the ring that we possibly couldn't see. So I use a little towel, then I use the microfiber. Gonna give it that extra little, you know, any little detail that you can do to, you know, aid in the preservation of the engine. That's totally crucial and critical to the build. So you wanna treat it as professionally as possible. So here we go. Now, I might not have taken off a lot of material, but you don't want to go ham on it. Just start cutting without measuring as you go. So that's what makes it a little tedious, but it's worth it. So I'm gonna check the gap, see what I got here, and it's getting close. It's getting close. So I'm just gonna cut a little bit more with the same method, and then check again. Trying to achieve that 28,000 target gap. Make sure you got the ring nice and straight. And I only use this method when I want to speed up the cut rate. This thing cuts. Now I'm gonna check, make sure I have no taper. I have just a little bit. I'm gonna take that out. Check again. So that's pretty much the key. Is to check, check, and check. And be mindful not to take off too much material. Oh yeah, that's just beautiful. Look at that. And at this point, I'm really satisfied. No taper at all. So now I'm going to be taking it over to the manual filer to see if I can screw it up a little bit better. So I'll bring it closer to you so you can see what's going on here. So this is the only side that I got filed. You can see, let me see if I can, no taper at all in this ring. And that's by just cutting it. So that method, you can use that method, but if you haven't been practicing, I wouldn't suggest using the file in the bench vise method. Now I'm gonna put it onto the manual filer just to kind of square it up properly. And this is how I do it. Nice and easy. Always file in towards you. Nice and slow. You don't have to go super fast. And we're not trying to cut too much. Now we're gonna check for taper. And no taper in this ring. So now, just gonna deburr the edge. Just like that. Just like that. There's a little bit left here. This is the part that most people hate because it's very tedious. So you have to do this for each compression ring, top and bottom, until the target ring end gap is achieved. And our end gap target is 28 thousandths of an inch. So now just get it all cleaned up. Grab that with a towel. Then I'll put a microfiber just to get any extra stuff off of there, because you don't want that sliding up and down in your cylinder. So we just go back over to the board. And now we're gonna check to see if we have got that gap. I'll just set it down in there. That looks about right. Like I said, I've done them so much that I can almost look at them and tell when I'm where I need to be. But I never jump the gun because you could open it up a lot. So I'm barely, and it seems like there's slightly some taper in this ring. So I'm gonna go ahead and take that out just very slightly. So I'm gonna go ahead, bring it back over to the manual ring filer and take out a little bit more. This is what makes it tedious, just taking out a little bit of material as you go. Just a little bit. It's always a good thing to have extra rings on hand, just in case. But if you follow this method, you 9 times out of 10, you won't make your mistakes will be minimal, and you'd have the best results just by taking your time. So kind of like why I'm taking the time to show you guys the proper way to do it, so you don't mess up your very expensive kit, because these kits are not cheap. No burrs. And now we're good to clean it up and check again. I think we might be on target this time. Let's just hope. And it's back to the board. And you're gonna be repeating this step a little bit more than often. Let's square it up. And get that feeler gauge in there. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, we just got a little bit to go. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. So I'm gonna go back to the bench. Square it up. That ought to do it. No taper. Yep. And this is what it takes. So just wanted to show you guys a full in-depth video of actually what it takes. And you have to do this for all 16 compression rings, one by one. So I'd say this is the least fun part of building the engine, but it must be done. It cannot be overlooked, and it must be treated with accuracy and the utmost professionalism, especially when you're working with these performance applications. These parts are not cheap, so you don't want to mess up your very expensive kit. So back to the bore, and hopefully we can achieve a nice slide. Oh yeah, that looks beautiful right there. Oh yeah. You always want to get it at least an inch down in the board, because at the top of the board there's taper. Oh yeah, that's beautiful. That is exactly how you want it to be. You want the gauge to be able to slide through freely with minimal binding. So that is a properly gaffed ring, and that's exactly how you do it.